Hi, welcome to my presentation for the course Nature-Based Tourism. My name is Kim Knaap and I'll be discussing the topic of last chance tourism. I've chosen this theme because I'm very interested and passionate about climate change and the effect it has on the world and what we can do to stop or slow down this process. And seeing that last chance tourism has an effect on climate change, positively and negatively, I believe this is the perfect topic for me to present to you. So let's start with the definition. I found a couple ones. You can read them here. I'll read some of them out. Last chance tourism can be defined as commercial visitation of disappearing destination, changing environments or cultures, and seriously endangered species due to the perceived risk of them vanishing forever. The second one, a niche tourist market where tourists explicitly seek vanishing landscape or seascapes and other disappearing natural and or social heritage. And the last one, last chance tourism is a tourism industry that is built around the last chance to see something. It could be the last chance to see the Great Barrier Reef or the last chance to see Argentina's glacier field. If you knew that before long something would be gone forever, you would likely make an effort to experience it before it's too late. Um, Hopefully that makes it quite clear. So the occurrence of visiting parts in the world before they disappear is becoming increasingly common. Um, Last-inch tourism, which Forbes named as one of the top travel trends in 2018, is attracting visitors to the Amazon rainforest in South America, the retreating mangroves in the Everglades, Australia's bleaching Great Barrier Reef, the melting ice in Montana's Glacier National Park, and the sinking Venice, a city of Venice. These are just a couple of destinations that I could name. Other common names for this trend, so for last chance tourism, could also be doom tourism and dark tourism. So let's see, why is this such an upcoming trend? Why now? So the predominant reason is climate change, as this is the most common driving force behind the last chance tourism destinations' slow disappearance. The world population has become more aware of climate change and the effects it has on the world that we were living in. So also these vanishing destinations. On top of that, the marketing departments of most of the destinations use climate change and the appearance of the and disappearance of the location as a selling trick, which urges people to book their tickets immediately to get to the location before it's too late. Um, those marketing tricks are often done via social media, as you can see in the one of the many pictures that I found. It is becoming cool to see places other generations or other people won't be able to see in the near future. Social media and the fast impact of the internet has on the perceptions of humans on the world is a major factor in this upcoming trend. With the access of more information every day in our world, we become very aware of the changes that are occurring at this moment and what we might even miss in the future. And another reason that I found from last chance tourism is the search of more authentic tourism. The trend of having a vacation that no one else has ties perfectly in with last chance tourism. What's more special than visiting a destination that half a million people, that millions of people won't be able to see in the near future? So I want to look at some examples actually of last chance destinations. I chose two. First one is the Great Barrier Reef. Um, in 2012, scientists estimate that the Great Barrier Reef has already lost more than half of its coral cover since 1985. The cause is not rising sea levels, but another side effect of climate change, which is ocean acidification. The reefs are threatened by a variety of human activities, ranging from overfishing, agricultural runoff, and of course the everlasting flow of tourists. According to the official tourism website of Australia, the tourism industry on the Great Barrier Reef is important to Australia's economy, with over 1.9 million tourists in 2013. The industry supports 65,000 full-time jobs through both direct and indirect employment and provides 5.2 billion to the Australian uh, economy annually. As the tourism industry is vital to the region, there's likely to be a growing concern surrounding how reef degradation will impact the tourist visiting patterns. Concerns such as this are especially relevant as the Great Barrier Reef has been labeled as a potential last chance tourism destination. In In the 2016 study of the University of Melbourne on the Great Barrier Reef became evident that 70% of the visitors had traveled huge distances in effort to see the reef, in quotes, before it's gone. Um, Another example that I wanted to give you was Alaska and the Arctic Circle. Um, I found a man, Marzio Mian, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's an Italian journalist who explored the Arctic region for decades and recently published the book Arctic, Battle for the Great White North. Said how tourism is one of the key phenomena affecting the Arctic Circle. In 2017, the first cruise trip made the Northwest Passage through the Arctic Ocean, and in August, a year later, there were around 17 cruise ships. These ships are usually not prepared for those latitudes. They're generally equipped for cruises in the Caribbean or for the Norwegian fjords. The risk for the environment is high because these ships use to border on icebergs to give tourists a closer experience. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the rest of the planet, and as a result, the area of the Arctic land covered by snow in the early summers has shrunk by almost 20% since 1966. Climate models predict that the Arctic Ocean will be ice free by the end of this century. And as its ice is turning into water, Arctic coastlines are eroding into the sea. Parts of Alaska are receding by 45 feet a year. This is already upsetting the ecosystem of the area, introducing new species, such as the mackerel, but also endangering others, such as polar bears. According to The Guardian, 180 Alaskan communities are already experiencing flooding and land loss due to climate change, and some have already had to relocate. Um, let's look at the next point. So the reverse effect. Um, Tourism is widely discussed as a part of the problem that causes climate change, resulting in rising temperatures, warming sea, melting ice, and rising sea levels. The potential loss of unique landscapes because of that climate change impact is part of the rationale for some tourists to visit destinations before they appear. The reverse effect entails the extra emissions caused by the tourists visiting the endangered location, um, which will lead to faster deterioration of the same location. Um, Eke Eigelaar, a researcher and lecturer at the Center of Sustainability, Tourism and Transport at Breda University of Applied Sciences, says he doesn't believe last chance tourism raises people awareness of the effects of climate change enough to outweigh the unwanted effects they can have on the fragile environment. This is a quote. The impact of these mostly long distance journeys is just too big. Just imagine all 500 million Europeans traveling to either the Great Barrier Reef or Antarctica. Their total carbon footprint would amount to the annual carbon footprint of 250 million British or Dutch people. Another example is the case of making a long haul journey to view polar bears in Churchill, a very small town in the Canadian province of Manitoba, which is the only easily accessible place to view the creatures in their natural habitat. It can contribute up to 8.61 tons of carbon dioxide per person per trip. This is compared to the 10.9 tons of someone living in the UK, which contributes to the entire course of a year, according to a 2010 study published in the journal Current Issue. So even though we know this reverse effect, why are people still going? Um, Multiple researchers like Anne Hindley and Xavier Font have asked themselves this very question, and the overall finding is that there is little sense of personal responsibility with regards to climate change responses. Despite some travelers being unaware of the contribution of air travel to climate change, um, on the other hand, others are aware and are prepared to act, while others are still aware but are unwilling to change. Um, Perhaps this accounts for a psychological of denial, which exists in relation to the contribution of air travel to climate change. Alternatively, travelers perhaps disassociate environmental impacts with their own activities. Despite describing their concern for the environment, Tourists have very little vested interest in the long-term survival of any destination because they've already seen that destination, so they can just go into the other one. Um, so let's look at the local impact. The local impact is positive and negative. It just depends if one is looking long term or short term. In the short term perspective, the business is booming. More and more people are visiting the destination. Because of that, it is increasing the flow of money going into the local region as well as the nation in question. But looking at the long run, the boost of tourism currently will only lead to an overall downfall of that destination, a downfall of the nature and ecosystem, as well as the economy and business thriving of the tourism. This is, of course, because of the reverse effect, because there's an increase of tourists. The process of the location deterioration is sped up over time. And this downfall will not only lead to decrease of job opportunities and cash flow, but it will disappear completely. There's a possibility that the location will not reparish itself again, so that the tourism in that park comes to an end, and in my opinion, even worse, a beautiful location, beautiful destination is ruined. Um, so how do we slow this process down, or even better, stop this process? I found a study of Rachel Dodds, a professor at a university in Toronto, and she's an advisor to businesses and governments and sustainability. She says that last chance tourism needs to be controlled in order to reduce stress on ecosystems and the environment. She says without proper management and thinking about the limits to acceptable change, places are not the places are being ruined beyond repair. Tourism is planned for the short term, and policies or plans are not developed with the medium or long term impact in mind. Um, Once an ecosystem has been destroyed, it can easily be brought back. What we don't seem to realize is that development is irreversible. People need to be educated to the fact that their contribution to global warming, habitat destruction, and pollution is still a contribution. A contribution, no matter how small, is huge. So, what has been done? I found very little recorded changes. A lot of people that say they have, but not really um, seen the benefits yet from it because it's so recent. But an example that I found was what has been done to control the situation in Galapagos. Um, Tourism there is very tightly controlled with strict regulation on where visitors can walk and how many visitors can visit each island daily. And it also rotates which island is available to avoid erosions. One day they do another island, then the other day the three other islands are open. Um, According to a report by the National Park, their tourism increased by 4% between 2014 and 2015, um, but it hasn't changed or deteriorated the national park. In recent times, you see more of these measures to keep the impact as small as possible, and hopefully more will follow. Um, this was my presentation, and thank you for listening. I hope it sparked some interest. So thank you.